Hey guys, Matt here. Just want to say a couple quick things before we get to this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. First, you'll notice in this episode that we are talking about pretty outdated news. This episode was recorded on Halloween night with Fekkes, and at the time, Kevin Spacey's allegations had just broken, and so instead of just cutting this discussion out, because at the time we were kind of talking about the future of House of Cards and the implications of Netflix announcing its final season and everything. That's all pretty out of date, but and it's not current, but I'm going to keep it there just for posterity and everything. We'll have a more up-to-date discussion in a future episode regarding the allegations that are spreading all across Hollywood, including Louis C.K.'s whole thing and everyone, all the stuff that's going on. So just wanted to give you that caveat before we get into this episode of the podcast. And also, just as a quick reminder, we are still doing the contest for the free Obsessive Viewer t-shirt. By doing that, all you got to do is by December 31st at midnight, send me an email at matt@obsessiveviewer.com with a screenshot of your iTunes or Stitcher review to be entered into the contest. On January 1st, I'll pick a random selection from the entries, and they will get a free Obsessive Viewer t-shirt. Once again, just send us a screenshot to matt@obsessiveviewer.com, and yeah, we will get that entered into the contest. So, without further ado, here is mine and Fekkes' review of Blade Runner 2049 and our outdated discussion about Kevin Spacey and the sexual assault allegations. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter, and this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Since I've done this. Hello and welcome to the Obsessive Viewer. Hello and welcome to the Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com. You can like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer, where you can also join the Facebook group. And you can find more of Obsessive Viewer's podcasts at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts. This week's episode is sponsored by Horror Movie Yearbook, which you can find at HM Yearbook on Twitter and at HorrorMovieYearbook.com. Horror Movie Yearbook is a horror movie-centric podcast, which is fitting because we're actually recording this on Halloween, that takes a few different horror movies and contextualizes them with the year that they were released, and reviews them based on the current events and pop culture of that year and their opinions on the movies. They recently just did an episode all about horror movies in the year 2007, which included reviews of Hostel 2 and The Mist, which The Mist is one of my favorites from Darabont. And so find that at HM Yearbook on Twitter and at HorrorMovieYearbook.com. And thank you to Horror Movie Yearbook and the Midwest Podcast Network for sponsoring this week's episode. It is much appreciated. And this week on the podcast, I know that it has been a bit of a dry spell for us in terms of releasing content, so I apologize. October was a huge month. We did Shocktober in Irvington, and then also Tiny got married. Yay! So he is enjoying some time off for, newlyweddy stuff. So Fekkes is here with me.
Hello.
Hi! How's it going?
Good. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Yes, this is going to go up later this week, but that's fine.
That's fine.
Anyway, yeah, we are
recording
recording
any trick-or-treaters today?
I didn't. That's one of the good things
I'm not
about...
shocked by that at all.
Yeah. Are you Shocktobered by it?
Stop.
Anyway, I do need to release the Shocktober episode also. I've been busy this month. Not as busy as Tiny because I didn't get married or anything, but I've just been busy with video games, really. But anyway.
That's okay.
It is okay. Thank you. Tell that to the Patreon supporters.
Oh, yeah.
Of which you're not one, which is interesting because I don't know if you know this, Fekkes, but you can become a patron of the Obsessive Viewer at patreon.com/ObsessiveViewer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I'll buy a shirt. I swear to God.
Okay,
I'm gonna buy a
good.
shirt.
Good. I'm actually really excited because I think I'm going to buy, like, my whole family just shirts for Christmas. Like, yeah, screw it. I'm getting $2 for each one of these.
That's fine.
So, yeah. Which, speaking of which, we actually got a new logo, which I'm super excited about. Have you seen it?
I probably have.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah. Let me pull it up here. Get your hot take on it. Nope, that's the old logo.
Oh, well, that one was awful anyway.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
We have
great.
several different logos, all of varying degrees of
Hotness.
I was going to say disappointment.
Oh.
Okay, it's going to be kind of small, so you'll have to...
Oh, that's what she said. Which one is it?
It's the one that says Obsessive Viewer.
Number 6? I like it. I like it a lot, actually. It's good.
It's nice. Yeah.
Good.
It looks good on a sticker, which you can buy at tpublic.com on our TeePublic store. Also, so yeah, I'm going to get shirts for all my family with that, and then next year I won't have a family because they'll disown me. But anyway, today on the podcast we are going to be reviewing the latest Denis Villenueve film, Blade Runner 2049, and we're going to also obviously talk a little bit about Blade Runner itself. And but before all that, we're actually going to go into a little bit of discussion about some news that hit this week. But even before that, Fekkes, I want to get your reaction to this year's Shocktober in Irvington, because you were in attendance.
I had a great time, as always.
Nice.
I thought all the films were interesting. I especially liked the films from the local guy. Well, I guess they're all local, but the guys that submit to the other competition,
48-hour film project.
Yes,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed those films.
Nice. They were from Fair Creek Films,
and they're good bunch of guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And of course, it's very interesting to me that the other filmmaker has this entire universe.
JP.
Yeah. That he's created, which is that's awesome. Good for him. But
yeah.
Had a great time again. One awesome Baby Groot pop, which is awesome because I collect the pops. Me and the wife do. So
nice.
It was very fitting for us.
Nice. When you won it, you said, "I feel like this is I was meant to win this." When you won, that's what you said, something like that to me.
Sounds like something I would say.
Yeah, and then I was like, yeah, I agree. And it's funny because I bought two of them for some reason I don't remember, and then I was like, you know what? I'll just give one away at Shocktober, and then I kind of had to rationalize it by saying like, oh, it's scary how cute Groot is.
It was good though. I like that.
Yeah. Nice.
There should be a pub crawl after next year.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
There's going to be a cash bar.
Yeah. That's good too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Basically, I'm just trying to incorporate drinking in every aspect of my life.
Sure. So. We actually, I don't want to jump the gun a little bit, but we will have likely have a sponsor for the cash bar. So,
ooh,
yes.
Fancy.
So if you like to drink and you come to Shocktober in Irvington, you could be, it could be a geek-filled thing. So you could be technically geeking in Indiana if you were to drink at Shocktober, because
I see what happened.
That's a little hint of the sponsor. Anyway, that was really only for Tony's benefit. Anyway, so that's good. I'm glad you had fun, and we had a great night. We were actually able to raise a little over $400 for the Irvington Historical Society.
That's good times.
So definitely awesome.
Irvington's just a charming little area.
It is.
It's super cool.
Oh yeah.
I like whenever I'm around there, I feel like I need to go hang out around there a little bit more.
Oh, me too. And it's like they're super friendly because like I go there and I'm just like, hey, I have flyers for this thing that I'm doing. Can I put it up? And they're like, oh yeah, totally. What is it? And they're super friendly and super helpful and stuff.
Like a less pretentious Brown Pole.
Yes, that's I can get behind that. Yeah. Oh yeah. And it seems a little more like wholesome. Not wholesome.
No.
Kind of close-knit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wholesome.
Anyway.
Wholesome works.
Yep. And, what'd you think of the new venue, by the way?
It's a little cramped, but it's still a nice venue.
Nice.
And it sounds like it's going to work out better for you guys anyway. So.
Oh, absolutely. And it's exciting because next year they're going to we're going to have a cap at, we're going to only be able to sell 75 tickets. Yeah.
I think it is also a testament to how much it has grown since you guys first started it.
Yeah.
That the fact that you're cramping an entire facility.
Yeah.
So that's bravo.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And hopefully I don't know if I'll even include this in the recording because, this is a little inside baseball, but the hope is that we would be able to facilitate 2 nights.
Oh.
So that's the hope. Maybe not next year, but maybe the year after. But we'll see. Anyway, ShocktoberInIrvington.com. Check that out, which is actually exciting because I actually finally just moved because ShocktoberInIrvington.com went to a Shocktober in Irvington page on ObsessiveViewer.com, which left a lot to be desired because I'm not a web designer or anything. So I just went ahead and just moved ShocktoberInIrvington.com to go straight to the Facebook page for Shocktober in Irvington.
That'll work. That's all you need.
That'll be perfect. So anyway, there's no good way to transition.
No good segue here?
Not at all. So going on to, before we get into our review, there's been a lot of news, and I actually kind of toyed with the idea of doing an entire episode dedicated to
it's still not
all
a bad
the shit that's
idea.
going on, right? Because it's just a massive amount of stuff. All the stuff with Harvey Weinstein. If you're listening to this in the future and you're not sure where we're at in the goings-on of Hollywood, basically, it came to light through a New York Times article probably 3 weeks ago that Harvey Weinstein, they did a huge expose about how he was sexually assaulting numerous women in Hollywood. Systematically, yes, using his leverage as a huge producer in Hollywood to grope women and assault them, and I think there's been a couple allegations of just outright rape. Yeah.
Which apparently it must not have been that big of a secret within the Hollywood community because you see jokes about it, Seth MacFarlane making a joke about it at one of the Oscars,
right? And
it's just
yep.
How do you guys know so much about this, and how does it take so long for this to come to light?
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about
it. And I am not victim blaming.
Right.
When I say that is not a knock to the victims. That's a knock to the industry that apparently has felt okay with keeping this sort of thing under tight lips.
And it's not even necessarily that. It's the threat of litigation. It's the threat of lawsuits. I remember, I actually remember about a year ago, I remember reading point by point the exact account that Ashley Judd had in the New York Times piece, stating that Harvey Weinstein took her up to his hotel room, I think, and tried to get her to get naked in front of him or something to that effect when she was just starting out. I remember a year ago reading that exact thing, but she couldn't say his name. She said it was just a high-powered executive. Exactly. Because if you say anything in Hollywood, you'll spend the next several years of your life fighting a libel or slander lawsuit in court. And that's just such a messy thing.
It's a shame that the repercussions for his systematic sexual assaults is loss of money and, okay, now I'm going to sex rehab at this plush exotic resort.
Right.
When every, normal people go to jail for that sort of thing.
Right.
And rightfully so.
And there are, I've read that, and I don't know how likely any of this would come about. But there are investigations being launched by LAPD, and I think someone in the UK is also investigating him for criminal charges and everything. But he's also he's banned from the Producers Guild of America. His career is over.
Well, the thing is, obviously this was not known to the general public, but this was known to the industry.
Yeah.
Apparently, they had contracts with actresses and films that he was producing where it was a matrix system of the amount of money that they would pan out for each sexual harassment complaint.
Jesus.
Which it went from like 25,000 to 50,000 to 75 to 100,000. And after that, it was a straight 100,000 shots every time he had the sexual complaint under that specific project.
Yeah.
How fucked up is that?
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
yeah.
that's in a contract that, hey, our guy, he's pretty hands-on, so if he slaps your ass, here's what you're going to get.
Right.
And so it could not have been a huge secret within that industry.
Oh, absolutely not.
So
absolutely
it's horrifying that apparently they're like, well, I guess he's super powerful in this industry, so this is just how we're going to deal with it. He's going to lose money on it. Which that'd be like if I were to walk up to a girl and grab her inappropriately, and someone was like, okay, well, you now owe her $1. Okay, here you go. So that's no punishment to him. Hell, he probably found a way to write that off in his taxes.
Probably, yeah. And it's such a just shitty thing. And what makes me, I don't even know if I'd want to even say optimistic, but it's kind of refreshing, or maybe not refreshing, but it's hope. It makes me a little more optimistic that it's not just Harvey Weinstein. There's that Joe something, I don't remember his name, but the skeevy director who has like 15 women that have alleged him to basically try to get them to have sex with him because he's a director. Like James Gunn wrote this really great, like long Facebook post about how, like the day after this guy, I can't remember his name, but after his allegations came to light and everything, this is a different guy. He was like, I have friends who've been sexually assaulted by this guy. Oh, I think it's James Toback is the director. James Toback. So James Gunn said like, he is, I have close friends and women that I've dated in the past who have said that have said very similar stories of very similar accounts that he's assaulted them in different ways, that always have the same kind of similarities between the stories. And he said that the reason why he didn't say anything about it was because I think he said it was because it wasn't his place, and also there's lawsuits and everything, and there's that whole thing. It's just disconcerting that there's this level of quiet about it.
Right. And like the people that were victimized by this, you can't blame them.
No, not at all.
Because you're looking at a situation where you come out and you try to allege that one of the most powerful men in the industry has done something. You have the potential to just throw your career away. And you have to weigh that. I was like, well, do I throw my career away or put up with this one incident so I can keep working in the industry that I love? So it's
and even if like someone's just starting out and then they experience something like that, they think, okay, well, this is just how it is, and then they get this warped view. And then you have situations like Corey Feldman. I can't remember when this was, but I saw the clip where he was on, I think, The View or something, and he was talking like he has been a big proponent of like exposing this Hollywood sexual harassment machine and even pedophilia and everything, because he was victimized himself as a kid.
Which I buy that.
Yeah.
I buy that situation.
Totally. Oh, yeah. And then there's a clip of him on The View or whatever, and Barbara Walters she says something to the effect of, because he's talking about how we need to expose these people and expose what's going on, and then Barbara Walters said, like, you're ruining an entire industry. And it's just like what?
Because that's the concern.
Exactly. But all of that being said, recently it was Anthony Rapp, the actor from Rent, and he's currently on Star Trek Discovery. He came forward and said that when he was 14 years old on Broadway, he was sexually assaulted by Kevin Spacey when Kevin Spacey was 26, and they were both working together on the same play. so the story that his allegations say that they were at a party and then people left, and then since he was only 14, he was just, he found a bedroom and was watching TV, and then Kevin Spacey came in inebriated and got on top of him and tried to have him sexually, is what Anthony Rapp said. So the fallout of that is that not necessarily the fallout of that, but in the next day, Netflix announced that season 6 of House of Cards will be the last season. And then just today, they announced that season 6 of House of Cards, the production of it has been postponed indefinitely while they investigate and address concerns from cast and crew and kind of get a feel for it, which now that I'm like, the more I think about it, that's the smart move from Netflix.
And I applaud that move. Mm-hmm. To say that they're canceling the show, I feel like it was probably going to be the last season anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was, I don't applaud them for that because I think that was an eventuality. Mm-hmm. But to stop production on one of your most one of your most popular properties
and your flagship property,
right? Yeah, because that was the first Netflix series to ever debut. I say bravo on that. It's like, well done.
Yeah, I agree, and it's funny because the House of Cards is, I would probably say House of Cards is one of the big reasons why the Obsessive Viewer exists, because I had read that, Netflix is going to start making TV shows. This is amazing. And then part of that was why I started the blog, which is what turned into the podcast, and then turned into 3 podcasts and a cat. So
I also think that the success of House of Cards really led to Netflix's production company.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, to have such a hit right off the bat. I mean, where would Netflix be without it right now? So
they started with House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, and Hemlock Grove, which Hemlock Grove wasn't that well received.
I was going to say I don't remember hearing anything fantastic about it, but
I think it had a little bit of a cult following because it had that kind of, it was a horror show or horror drama. With Eli Roth's name kind of thrown behind it, so it had this following. It just wasn't as successful,
right?
But yeah, with House of Cards and Orange is the New Black, I mean, that's why Netflix is the giant that it is now. But I do agree with you that I think that the announcement that it was that season 6 would be the last was, our friend Sam posted in the Facebook group and said that it was likely a timing thing. That the timing was the only thing that factored into it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That it did, which I agree. But the kind of concern that I had, which I posted this in the Facebook group, and I'll get to the responses here in a bit. But okay, so the question that I posited in the Facebook group was, even though Netflix, from my understanding, hasn't stated specifically that House of Cards is ending because of the allegations against Spacey, this brings up an interesting question. When something like this happens, when the lead in a movie or show is alleged to have done something heinous, is it the responsibility of the network / streaming service / etc. To cancel the project entirely? Is that necessarily the right thing to do, or is it an overreaction to shift focus away from any higher-ups' potential knowledge of their employees' behavior / past behavior? Which that's something that I was thinking about pretty much all day today.
Here, this is just specific to this scenario. Mm-hmm. I would find it hard to believe that any of the higher-ups at Netflix had any knowledge of this. I mean, this is a situation that happened 30 some odd years ago.
Yeah.
So to think that the higher ups had any idea that this even happened, I think is
right.
I think that's not very plausible.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it bears any responsibility on them to have known that Kevin Spacey committed this act.
Right.
The production company also has a responsibility to investigate the allegations further as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, not calling the victim a liar. I'm just saying that allegations, it's a serious allegation, needs to be investigated.
Right.
So I think, given the scenario, I think what they've done is putting the show on hiatus. Mm-hmm. That's the correct move right now.
Yeah, and I agree. I kind of had some concerns because and this is purely hypothetical and likely not the case, but if if canceling the show was in reaction to the allegations, then that just makes me think, like, is it right to put hundreds of people out of work because of the past behavior of one person who is integral to the show? There's no other way around it. And then I kind of had that concern also with the postponing or suspending the production indefinitely. But thinking more about it, it's like that I can see Netflix's strategy in doing that, or their thought process in doing that, because from my perspective, I'm sure that they would probably like to have very private conversations with the members of the cast and crew.
Sure. See
if there is any, make sure that if there is anything within the production that's not to say that Kevin Spacey could potentially be like a predator that is a serial predator, because this is the only allegation that's been leveled against him. But in the event, like, I'm sure that Netflix is going to do their due diligence to make sure that everyone in the production is comfortable and heard.
Right. No, I mean, there's no easy answer. There's no easy path in any of this. But right now, I think they're making some good steps. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate. It's Kevin Spacey's always been one of my favorite actors, and I hate to see this.
Me too.
It totally taints my perception of Kevin Spacey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also and this is probably more gossipy than we like to be here on the Obsessive Viewer, but Kevin Spacey's statement after the allegations came out. Did you hear about that?
I saw that he came out and said that he kind of used this as a springboard to come out as gay.
Right.
Which, I don't know. I've always just kind of assumed that Kevin Spacey was gay.
Well, he's always been very private about his personal life, which is
that's great.
Perfectly fine.
Right.
Yeah.
What kind of makes me mad is I feel like now this whole scenario is equating pedophilia with homosexuality, which makes me so mad, because that there's going to be some assholes out there that are far right or religious, and like, see, we told you homosexuality and pedophilia are one and the same. So this statement to me has been a detriment to the LGBT movement.
Right.
So I was not a fan of this. He's almost copying out of anything by saying, it was like, well, I guess I'm gay now.
It kind of seems like it was. Maybe this is more me thinking he's more Frank Underwood than Kevin Spacey at this point, but it kind of seemed like an almost calculated thing. Like the actual statement said
I'm sure it was calculated. I mean, it was a Twitter statement, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was on Twitter or where it was. It was
regardless.
Social media. Yeah.
Regardless, any time a statement comes out after an allegation like this, it's calculated.
Right, but I mean, because the actual statement said that he doesn't remember it, and he is deeply sorry for what would be an extremely inebriated thing, which a lot of people took kind of offense at that. Like, that doesn't excuse assaulting, and it doesn't.
No way at all excuses.
Right, and then the fact that he used it as a platform to come out publicly as gay kind of seemed like trying to shift the focus onto something else entirely.
Right. And coming from a guy that's been drunk many a times, never has it come across my mind, well, I'm drunk, better sexually assault somebody.
Right, yeah.
So to tell me you're drunk, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
It's no excuse.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just horribleness in that. In Hollywood. Horribleness in Hollywood.
Horribleness in Hollywood. Hopefully this kind of opens the gates more to more people feeling comfortable coming forward with any type of allegations or anything that they any experiences that they've had, that they hopefully this makes people feel more comfortable with coming forward with what has happened to them. And I just do want to read a few Twitter or Facebook group posts, and then we'll get on to our review. Friend of the show, Matt Quiet, said, you do have to keep in mind that Spacey is an executive producer and probably has a contract that stipulates what can and cannot be done with the show without his consent. For instance, he may not be able to be written out unless he agrees. Canceling the show, however, is often outside the producer's control. I'm assuming it's likely that for Netflix, it's much easier to cancel for now than to fight Spacey over control of the show, which is something that I never really considered.
No, and that's a good point.
Yeah, which I mean, obviously you can't. Regardless, you can't write Kevin Spacey out of House of Cards. He is House of Cards.
Replace him.
Sure. But that's an interesting point that they would just
it's like I said, there is no good path in any of this.
Yeah. Yep.
You just got to take the best of the worst scenario, best of the bad scenarios.
Right. And so, fairly recent listener Biz said, I definitely think higher-ups in many of these higher-profile cases are attempting to cover up their own complicity at this point, and while their motivation is self-serving, I still think it's the right thing to do. This kind of behavior has become so embedded in our culture in all industries. Ask me about sexual harassment / assault in the scientific community because of the complete lack of consequences.
Like, generally speaking, I don't think they're wrong, but in this, no, I think that's incorrect because I really don't think that the higher-ups are complicit or aware of Kevin Spacey's specific incident here.
Yeah.
But I think generally speaking, yes, I think that's correct. I think the higher-ups have been very complicit in covering up these types of scenarios and behaviors.
Right.
But
yes.
Specifically in this case, I think that's not right.
Yeah. Yeah, unless it, yeah. I was going to say something that would just be more like completely pointless to say because nothing has come to light to this effect. So anyway, but Harvey Weinstein, that situation, obviously,
right, yes, that's...
Yeah. And then Patreon supporter Matt and Draco said, I've also just lost interest in the show. I barely made it through the last season, and now I haven't made myself watch the current one. So that's his take on House of Cards. And then longtime listener Yasmin said, I wasn't even going to bother watching the final season since the last season was so boring, but I do think it's the responsibility of networks to cancel the shows to prove to any other predators out there that there are consequences, finally.
Not a bad statement.
Yep, I agree. And then she also went on to say that she's so glad that everything that's going on in Hollywood has emboldened women in other industries to speak up. In the UK, quite a few politicians are now being exposed for assaulting women.
Good.
Which is very good.
It's
coming to light.
It's terrible how prevalent apparently this is.
And it's sad that it's 2017 and we're celebrating the fact that women are able to come forward safely.
In major industries where you feel like people, like Hollywood's an industry where it's an industry of people having a voice, like this artistic voice is being heard,
right?
But apparently nobody gives two shits that some poor actor or actress was sexually assaulted by a powerful film mogul.
Yeah. And then finally, Curtis said the show was losing steam because Frank reached his goal, which I agree. He was much better scheming to get where he wanted. Don't know if Spacey did it or not, but it's disconcerting that one allegation can derail things without proof.
Now he has a fair point, but it's first of all these types of cases, proof is very hard to come by, especially when you're talking about a case that's 30-some-odd years old.
Right.
But it's not like Kevin Spacey is exactly denying that it happened.
Right. Yeah.
So, I agree with him. For someone to be able to come out and say, this happened to me 30-some-odd years ago, and this is having major ramifications. As you said earlier, it could have ramifications to people that have probably never even met Kevin Spacey,
right?
Some grip on the show or some stand-in. I don't know, but it is somewhat concerning that this much can come from one man's statement,
right?
But not saying that what he said is true,
right?
And if I were a bet man, I think we all know that Robert Fekkes is a bet man. I'd put my money on that it probably happened.
Yeah. I'm not one to disbelieve the statement or anything. I do, in my opinion, think that it likely did happen. There's no way to prove it without Kevin Spacey outright saying, "Hey, yeah,
And this is why these types of cases are they're so difficult to manage because there's so little evidence sometimes that something actually happened. A lot of times it'll come down to one person's word against another's.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I am kind of that I've thought a lot about in the last couple weeks since all the stuff has happened with Harvey Weinstein and James Toback and now Kevin Spacey. That like now it seems like we are in a culture where it's social media is like word spreads like wildfire. Statements get caught into the internet hive mind and things get blown up into just huge things that everyone's talking about. Like the water cooler is now the internet.
Yeah.
And it's worldwide. So my thought is it would be far too easy for someone, not to say anyone that has come forward is doing this, but hypothetically another person could say, hey, X person did this to me, and then they go viral if it had never happened. Like, it just seems like there's this outrage. I don't know what I'm trying to say, or I don't know how it's going to come across, but it just seems like it'd be easy for someone
situations like this, it makes it easier for someone to take advantage of the situation. Take, for example, Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby. Both of these men, I believe, are monsters and sexual predators. But I think amongst the plethora of genuine allegations, there's probably a couple of false allegations sprinkled in there from people that are trying to take advantage of something.
Sure.
As a police officer, you see this a lot, and it's disconcerting because it takes away from the legitimacy of the actual victims. Right. But people try to take advantage of situations, and unfortunately, it's just something you have to deal with in scenarios like this.
Yeah. Yep.
I still think that Bill Cosby raped a bunch of women, and I think that Harvey Weinstein sexually assaulted and or maybe raped people too. So I think they're both horrible human beings. But I also think that some people try to take advantage of what is going on. So.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of that thing about the actor from The League who it came out like a couple years ago that he told a story when he first moved to Hollywood about how he was in one of the towers on 9/11, and then like that's just a story that he told, and then it came out like a couple years ago that he was not even anywhere near the towers on 9/11. He just made it up.
What an idiot!
Yeah, it's just like what was his name? I can't remember. It was one of the guys from The League, but so it's. I mean, unfortunately, things do happen like that. But
another example, non-celebrity related. A few years ago in Indiana at the State Fair, we had a concert venue collapse amidst a large storm. There was dozens of people injured that rightfully filed lawsuits against the state fairgrounds for not ushering people out. Whatever. People were sued over this. Well, two women put their names under these lawsuits as well and filed lawsuits, and it turns out they weren't even there.
Right.
So they saw an opportunity to make them. So unfortunately, it happens. People are going to try to take advantage of horrible situations.
Yep. But fortunately, things are coming to light that hopefully Harvey Weinstein gets some kind of criminal charges filed against him in some way. I would hope that he would, though.
He will not.
Oh. Well, hopefully he loses all of his money and
he won't.
Yeah. Hopefully he steps on a Lego or something.
I'm sorry, I don't have. Even for a police officer, this is horrible to say, but there's a different set of justice for the super rich in this country than there is for your everyday person. Harvey Weinstein is beyond rich. He will get sued, and it will not dent his riches. He'll never be working in Hollywood again, probably, but he'll live a comfortably rich life to the end of his days, unfortunately.
Well, that sucks. You see that he, an associate of his offered Rose McGowan $1 million, not to say anything about him raping her. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah. So hopefully He steps on all the Legos.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's we could talk more about this, but I don't want to, depress the world any more than it already is. So Blade Runner.
So for an optimistic look at the future.
Yeah, exactly. So as we're talking about a dystopia, I don't know, I can't do it. Anyway, so Blade Runner. Blade Runner 2049 came out. We're going to be reviewing that here in just a moment, I promise. First, let's talk about 1982's Blade Runner by Ridley Scott with Harrison Ford and, oh my God, why can't I remember? Rutger Hauer.
Edward James Olmos.
And Edward James Olmos.
Daryl Hannah.
Oh, yeah, I Edward James almost forgot. Daryl Hannah. Super proud of that.
Son of a bitch.
Anyway, so, Fekkes, how did you feel about the original Blade Runner?
The original Blade Runner. Now, I've only seen one of the 5 cuts of Blade Runner, and I've seen the Ridley Scott final cut,
which I understand is the definitive version.
Well,
I think
in my experience, whatever the director tells me is the definitive version, that's what I'm going to watch as the definitive version because it's his piece of work.
Sure,
in my opinion, that's just my opinion and take on it. So yes, the final cut is the only one that I ever watched. Blade Runner is a fairly slow movie, but I appreciate it for, first of all, its vision, especially back in the late 70s, of a fairly accurate portrayal of what the future can be. The mood of the movie is fantastic. I think it's a very neat noir future detective film, and to me, I love that mood. So it's not very action packed, and I think that kind of throws people. But the characters of the movie make it for me, and the themes of the movie make it for me. I absolutely love the theme of the films the film for it. And I think Rutger Hauer he steals just about every scene that he's in, especially the end. I mean, he's just to me that's a very iconic scene at the end at the top of the building. So I quite enjoy it. It's not my favorite Ridley Scott movie. It's not my favorite sci-fi movie, but I think it was a large jump forward for the industry and for what you can do with science fiction. Nice. And do you
the massive cult following and kind of accolades that have been thrown, or verbal accolades, the acclaim that has been thrown at Blade Runner, it's regarded as one of the greatest science fiction movies of all time, and there's this rabid fan base or rabid following for it. Do you fall into that?
No, because Blade Runner probably it's not in my top 10 movies of all time. It's not probably in my top 5 science fiction movies of all time. I just think it's a great portrayal of a dystopic future, and it's got a mood that is very unique to itself. And to me, the themes that are brought up about humanity make the movie for me. So I thoroughly enjoy the film. It's not one of my favorites, but I thoroughly enjoy it. So I'm not a cult follower of it's the greatest thing of all time, but I think it's a great movie. Okay, nice. And I have kind of an interesting history with it. I first saw it when I was in high school, when my taste in I was still cultivating a taste in movies. Your taste was evolving. Yeah, and I think I went into it expecting like a science fiction action movie. Well, here's the difficult thing about movies like this, especially for someone in our generation. Someone tells you need to see Blade Runner. It's amazing. It's a phenomenal movie, and it gets built up for you, and it turns out it's not what you expected. Yeah. So and that happens quite a bit, especially from movies a generation behind us, or a couple or 2 generations behind us. Yeah. If Tiny were here, he would say that yes, that is the case for pretty much every movie I've ever recommended to him in the course of our friendship. Because not so much these days, but I am one that in the past I've been I have just said every exaggerated big thing I can say about a movie to get someone to convince someone to see it, and then that ends up being
it was okay. It wasn't the greatest thing ever, but yeah.
That's why I give no recommendations to my wife. She's like, "Did you like it?" I'll tell her if I liked it or not. Like we sat down and watched. Well, I sat down to watch The Witch the other day.
Oh, okay.
And she was just happened to be in there and to watch it, and she's like, "You like the weirdest movies." I'm like, "This is why I didn't even recommend this to you. I know you're not going to like this movie. I love it. You're not going to like this movie."
You've seen it before, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think were you on the show to talk about it before?
I don't know. I may have been. I saw it in the theater. So.
Nice. Yeah, so Blade Runner, I saw it in high school. I might as well not have seen it. I was just basically like, if anything that's not Fight Club or Saving Private Ryan is just trash to me at this point. So I was not in the right frame of mind, or my mind wasn't advanced enough, or I wasn't.
You should really be warned as to what you're about to watch.
Yes, absolutely.
Because if you're like, I love Harrison Ford, and so you might think this is a big sci-fi action Harrison Ford movie.
He didn't tell one person to get off of his plane in this movie. Fuck this guy. No, but yeah. So then I did go back and rewatch it just a couple days ago in preparation for this podcast, and before seeing Blade Runner 2049, and my God, I freaking loved it. Yeah, I really did. Visually, it is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen.
It's very striking.
Ever. It is very thought-provoking. Like you said, it has so much of a noir feel to it that it feels like a kind of, maybe not gumshoe detective noir story, but it just feels like a throwback to noir stories from like the 40s and 50s,
right? Yeah.
With a dystopic science fiction futuristic thing, which works so well for the story being told and everything. And then this whole story of humanity, like the character of Roy Batty, played by Rutger Hauer, that's like, I mean, that is just such a fascinating character.
It truly is.
Yeah, like he's not evil. He's not a through and through villain. Like, you can sympathize with him.
He's not a villain at all. His motivations are more human than just about anybody
exactly
there. He has a lifespan. He wants to experience life. So he finds his creator, something that humanity has been trying to do since it created a creator, which I'm not taking any going down the road. I'm not saying there is no God. I'm not saying there is a God. Whatever. But he is able to do something that mankind's always wanted to do, and meet the creator and find out if he can find out more about his life.
Yeah.
And so it to me, that's not. He's not an evil character. He's finding a means to an end. So.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a beautiful movie, and I really, really loved it. I am kind of beating myself up over it because they had this like big, not necessarily box set, but this big special edition Blu-ray out that had all of the different versions.
Right.
Came with like a little, I think, like plastic like unicorn figure, modeled after the origami thing. And like, I'd seen that at Target so many times, and it's like, like this is like 4 years ago probably. I would see that at Target and be like, I kind of want to, this would look really cool in my collection. I've always wanted to rewatch Blade Runner. I should probably just get this. I should spend the $35 and get it. And then now it looks like that particular version is completely out of print and unbuyable.
People are so much money right now.
I know, right? So my hope is that when Blade Runner 2049 comes out on Blu-ray, they can, they'll re-release the original or something. I don't know. But yeah, so.
I can hope.
Yep. But yeah, so that's kind of a brief breakdown of our thoughts on Blade Runner, the original. And I've got to say this because I don't think you heard me say this joke at your Halloween party.
Could have been a reason for that.
But I was talking to your brother about Blade Runner, and then he was saying, like, okay, well, you got to watch the final cut version before seeing 2049. It bleeds seamlessly into it and everything. I was like, okay, well, in what version does Deckard shoot first, though?
I vaguely remember this.
I was so proud of that. I thought your brother was going to punch me, but that's fine.
You know what joke I was I thought was actually a lot more funny?
I might be bringing this into.
Okay, it was I didn't get to go see Blade Runner. Yeah, I thought it was good. That made me lol.
Oh yeah. So I'll go ahead and just say that because I was extremely proud of that one. So to go into our Blade Runner 2049 review, I was nervous because I had watched Blade Runner beforehand, but I did not have enough time to watch the other 2047 Blade Runners before 2049. I was so proud of that.
You should have, man. That was good.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it.
So let's just go right into our non-spoiler review of Blade Runner 2049, starring Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford, even though they shouldn't have put him in the marketing. That would have been awesome if he just popped up.
You not with Harrison Ford, you can't do that.
Right.
No, but I agree. I think that would have been incredible, but you can't do that with Harrison Ford.
Right. So let's see. So, I mean, I can't really read the plot description because I don't know how to talk about it in non-spoiler terms.
Yeah,
so
it's very spoiler-centric.
It sure is. So, before we get into what conditions did you see this in? Did you see it in 3D?
I can't do 3D.
Yeah.
Just standard movie theater viewing.
How was the theater experience, and how this can lead into a further discussion on it, but how busy was your theater?
Oh, man. Sadly unbusy.
Ugh. And did you see this, opening weekend?
Yep, sure did.
Man, that sucks.
Yep.
Ugh.
I'm so disconcerted. You know what, though? It got made, and I got to see it.
Yep.
And there needs to be no other films after this. So
I agree.
So selfishly, I can say, whatever, I got what I wanted.
Sure.
Even though other people financially did not.
Right.
But yeah, it was not a packed house.
Same with me. Although I did just see it a couple days ago, 4 weeks after it came out.
I was going to say,
3 or 4.
I'm shocked that it was still available to see in theaters.
Well, so was I. I was very worried because we were basically the genesis of this episode is a few weeks ago, someone on the Facebook group said hey, are you guys going to review 2049? I was like, yeah, I'll see if Fekkes wants to do it. And then just didn't follow up with you about it.
Yeah, I remember thinking,
I
was like, wasn't he supposed to get with me on that? But
I was. And then I just never got around to seeing the movie. And then I went to your Halloween party, and then you're like, hey, are we going to review 2049? I'm like, we can? Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. So I'm glad that we were able to get this worked out.
I as well.
Yeah. So, funny story about my theater experience. I saw it in 2D as well in the theater. Bought my ticket a day in advance. Got the back row, third seat. And then I went to the theater, got there right on time. And okay, this is a smaller theater, smaller auditorium because it's been out for a little while.
It's almost done.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a 6 or 7 row theater. Actually 5 rows. I had to count the letters on my fingers. And so I went and I noticed not right next to the seat that I got, but there was one buffer seat in between it. It's it's an empty theater except for this couple that are sitting right next to me with one seat in between us. I'm just I saw that and I was just in my head I was just fuck it, just sat in the row in front of it, just because I'm so weird and awkward.
They probably liked the back row and probably thought, one seat's enough buffer, and you're like, I'm going to be weirded out by this.
Yeah, well, and then the other thing was, partway through the trailers, another guy came in and sat in the first seat of that row. So had I sat in my assigned seat, I would have had we would have been an entire group in the back row with one seat in between each group. And it's just
people like the back row, Matt.
Yeah. And I'm really glad that I did what I did because I sat a row ahead of me because
until someone came in and
I know I was really worried about that. But, and this is something I never do, but partway through the movie, I had to pee so bad.
It's a damn near 3-hour movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I actually had to get I left and went to the bathroom, which is something I never do. That's blasphemous to me.
Yeah.
But I made it. So there's 30 seconds in the movie where I just didn't see it.
That was the 30 seconds you had to see.
I know, right? Anyway, So yeah, so let's talk about the movie. What did you think in kind of broad terms, and then we can go into spoilers fairly soon. What did you think in broad terms of Blade Runner 2049?
Broad terms, beautiful, amazing. I may have liked it more than the original. Everyone did a spectacular job, and I think it does a great job of continuing the themes of humanity in a much more in a very different way than the first one did. And I loved it, and it kills me that this movie was not financially successful. It's hard seeing a piece of work that I love so much not get, in my opinion, the recognition it deserved. But
man, I've got to agree with pretty much everything. Like, I'm right there with you. This was an astounding visual experience for me. Like, if I were to go back and watch Blade Runner for the technically first time before they announced this movie, and at the time, if I rewatched it at the time before it was announced and noticed like how just beautiful the original was, and then you were to tell me, yeah, okay, they're going to make a sequel 30 years later, and Denis Villeneuve is going to make it, and I would have just been like, I mean, that alone is like, that's incredible. Like, he's the filmmaker that should have made this movie.
He's like, I don't want to say he's the only one, but he's the perfect one.
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
so, yeah. I mean, his stuff is just fantastic anymore, and
it's not like when you see the cityscapes and the settings and everything, the camera lingers so much on all of the world essentially. And it's great that the camera lets the setting breathe, and you really get a sense of the world and everything.
The music is on point through the setting. It set the mood that the music sets is perfect to the world, and it's the composition is just perfect.
I will say, I don't know if it was my theater, but I feel like hypothetically, imagine like a volume dial and say that the optimum theater volume level is number 9. It feels like someone cranked it up to 12 in my theater, because like and also part of this is that I think I might have a wisdom tooth coming in. So like the pain is like in my neck and kind of up in my ear canal a little bit.
You can't blame the movie for your dentistry problems.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is I think that I was more susceptible to experiencing pain from vibrations in my ears.
No, there are some loud points to it.
Yeah.
There's some loud moments.
But the score actually, and I haven't seen Arrival since I saw it in the theater, but it reminded me a lot of Arrival, and I didn't check to see if the same composer
I'd have to look.
scored them. But I mean,
I'm with you. I haven't watched. I keep trying to save my second viewing of Arrival.
Yeah,
because I love the movie so much, and I just want to have the perfect moment to sit down and rewatch it. I've owned it I owned it since the day it came out. It's just I'm waiting.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, I haven't gone around to rewatching it either, because I've been behind on watching everything. Haven't even started Stranger Things yet.
Me either.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So beautiful movie. The performances I thought were great. There were some very interesting avenues that the story took that I'll dance around a little bit because I can't say anything. But the Ryan Gosling's character I thought was really fascinating to me. I love the way that he played that character.
I did too.
I thought he did a phenomenal job.
He did an amazing job.
Yeah, amazing,
especially
and understated too.
Yes.
Yeah.
The scenes he has with, for lack of a better term, under the circumstances around his companion, beautiful.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And again, it goes into the question of humanity, and I can't say too much about it.
I know.
Yeah.
Should we just Should we just dive into spoilers?
Just dive in.
Okay. Before we do that, overall, where's this gonna land on your top 10?
Oh, it's gonna be top 5.
Nice.
I haven't gone through lately and seen my list.
My list is dreadful.
That shocks me.
Yeah, I've just been so busy with so much stuff, and I just haven't had a chance to actually watch movies. And anything I do watch is just for one of the several podcasts I do.
Fair.
And then I also have a list. Like the list, I didn't put down the dates on some of them, so I'm kind of freaking out about that. So I need to backtrack and like find out what day I actually watched
get
something.
on it.
I know.
No, this will be top 5, probably top 3.
Nice.
So we'll see. Well, as it stands right now, there's a lot of movie times left.
Yeah.
But
I
love this film.
We're heading into prime Oscar bait season.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, this is going to be very high up for me. This is the type of science fiction movie that I just adore. Like, I am all for these visually magnificent, thought-provoking stories in this medium, and it's what I love about science fiction. And yeah, I'm super glad that, like you, I'm super glad that it was made. Yeah.
I remember when this was coming out, I just thought to myself, well, who are they making this for?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, is this a remake? Or it was like, no, not a remake. Okay, well, what are we doing with this? Because I was perfectly happy with how the first one ended.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, of course, there's always somewhere else you can go with it. But I was like, you know what? To me, this perfectly ends.
Right.
The narrative here. I didn't need any other questions answered, which the big questions.
We'll talk about that. Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And one thing that I really loved about it, which I'll open spoilers with that because I don't want to give anyone any preconceived ideas going into the movie. So, yeah, we will dive into spoilers. I'm going to play a clip from the trailer right here, and then when we come back, we will be spoiling Blade Runner 2049 and the previous 2048 prequels.
You're a cop. I did your job once. I was good at it.
I know.
What do you want?
I want to ask you some questions. The key to the future is finally unearthed. Bring it to me.
So proud of that. All right, so spoilers on for Blade Runner 2049. One of the things that I really loved about this movie was that it was a sequel to Blade Runner without being a reboot or reimagining or Lego sequel or anything like that. They didn't have, like, Ryan Gosling wasn't a new hotshot Blade Runner who has to find Deckard,
prove himself,
that
he's up to the standards that Deckard said.
Exactly. Like, they didn't have to go blow up a bigger replicant from the first one.
Or fight like 20 replicants at the same time.
Yeah, it was its own story while also being an actual sequel to it. Like, it's just, I loved the way that the movie was written and the story unfolded.
Yeah, it was very, especially for something that went from a 30-year difference, it was a very natural progression into the second film. So yeah, I really appreciated that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So let's start with Kay, or Joe, Ryan Gosling's character. Right off the bat, we learn that he is a replicant who is, a replicant Blade Runner. How'd you feel about that reveal and his character arc throughout the movie?
Well, I was not expecting it, but I was surprised. But I really enjoyed the path it took. So I really like the concept now of we have this Blade Runner who is a replicant facing the prejudices of replicants whose job it is to hunt replicants. So that's a very deep concept there on so many levels. So I really enjoyed the thought process throughout the entire that entire thing. So that entire scenario I thought was fantastic.
Absolutely. And that line that Batista says to him, he says, you're killing your own kind, or how does it feel to kill your own kind, or how can you kill your own kind, or something like that. Like that line, I was just like, oh shit, he's a replicant. That's amazing. Yeah. And then also I was like, I kind of have to pee. But that's neither here nor there. But and the whole idea of him being a replicant who is subject to the prejudices of people against replicants and everything. And then what I kind of really latched onto with his story wasn't so much his AI companion, which I thought was really great, which
that's
we'll get into that.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. But what I really appreciated about his story was that he kind of has this not naivety, but he has this glimmer of hope that he's starting to learn, or he becomes under the impression that he is this child of a replicant and maybe human. We'll talk about that, but he gets in his head that he is this fabled child that is this chosen one figure. And what I love about it is that, like, kind of toward the beginning, I was like, oh, I bet he's the kid. I bet he's the kid. And then
I thought that was far too easy.
And then that's what my fear was, that it was too easy. And then they kind of led us down that road, and then just kind of was like, oh no, it's a girl. No, you're good. Yeah.
Right. It's like, don't worry about it. But how much it shows that it affected him, the concept that he was going to be, like, almost, I hate to say chosen one, because it's not, to me, I don't really fits, but he's a significant being who people are now perhaps going to look to follow, and the ramifications for him to me are just, it's like his whole job has been killing replicants, but now he in his mind about to be a sigil for replicants.
Yeah, and then also he has been subjected to all of this, not necessarily mind control, but like they control his baseline emotions, and then he is subjected to all of these like epithets and this just his entire existence is killing his equals, while also being constantly reminded that he is insignificant and he has nothing in his life. And I think that's one of the things that kind of leapfrogs into or connects with the companion story with Joy, because that's him creating or purchasing some kind of emotional tether to reality to make him not as insignificant as his life.
It makes him human. He has an attachment. Yes, it's purchased. It's a piece of technology, but it's his attachment now. It's his emotional outlet. Not that much different than purchasing a pet.
Right.
I mean, you're purchasing a companion of which you love, has its own personality. I feel like Joy probably had a unique personality depending on the AI's interaction with the buyer, I guess. But the whole interaction between him and Joy to me just really shows how human the replicants are.
Yeah. And kind of going back to what you said about it, her being kind of tailor-made for his, or not tailor-made, but unique to his personality and everything. One of the more not necessarily heartbreaking, but I guess slightly heartbreaking moments was toward the end, when he is making the decision to go after them to save, Harrison Ford.
Deckard,
yeah. To save Deckard. he sees the ad for Joy, and she says the line that Joy says to him, and she just says, "What a day," and I'm just like, that's so because like I felt the companionship between them. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like Ryan Gosling did an amazing job of acting with this AI, which real person,
right?
No, the interactions between him and Joy were fantastic and believable and heartbreaking once it ended.
Right.
So,
Oh yeah. Okay, so the character of was it Wallace? Jared Leto's character.
The Wallace Corporation.
Yes. So I liked that whole aspect that it was, he bought the Tyrell Corporation.
Oh, I did too. Yeah.
Loved the way that it just kind of seamlessly brought us into it. Little disappointed that he didn't have damage tattoo on his forehead. That was a bit of a disappointment.
Well, it's a huge disappointment.
But what did you think of that character and that whole arc? Because it kind of seemed like I liked his motivation. Like his whole thing was that he wanted to create millions and millions of replicants so that humanity could conquer the stars and everything, which is a noble cause. And his whole drive to find the child was to figure out how to get them to, make babies.
How to replicate replicants.
Yes.
I thoroughly enjoyed Wallace and his scenes, and I agree. I like his motivations. I think Wallace represents kind of, in my opinion, people's misunderstanding of the theme. He doesn't see how human these replicants are. So he doesn't. All he sees them as a product. He doesn't understand that what he is creating, he is in essence creating life and personalities and what ends up being souls. And that's one of the things that they're talking about with the birth of a replicant is the fact that this replicant now has a soul because it has been birthed and not made.
Right.
So I don't think he grasps that concept.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that. He seems very short-sighted.
Yeah. Well, he's a businessman.
Yeah. He's also
Blind. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
See that? Yeah.
I'm offended.
Yeah, you got blindsided with that joke there. Anyway, no, yeah, he was just very focused on that one goal without looking at he didn't view them as people or as things. He viewed them as products, as property.
Even with the possible understanding that they are now creating life. He doesn't see it as that. He doesn't see it as the creation of life. And I think that's his downfall, or not, maybe not downfall, but that's his short-sightedness.
Sure, yeah. The whole idea, and we're probably jumping around a little bit here, but that kind of reminds me that there was this whole, I felt like this was kind of a dropped thing, or it didn't really make sense to me at the end, like if they was setting up something else entirely or what, but the whole idea of these replicants that are kind of in hiding, and there's that scene where Ryan Gosling finds out that he's not Deckard's son. He's just a regular replicant Blade Runner, and they talk about how there's going to be a revolution, and that they're going to that the replicants have. I kind of had to pee during that part too. So no, like there's this whole uprising that is hinted at and everything, and then it just nothing ever really comes of it.
I don't think it needs to. I think that's not the story.
Okay.
I think the story is Deckard and the child he made with
Rachel.
I think the replicant, the underground replicants, is a nice little side note.
Okay,
but I don't think it's the focus, nor should it have been the focus. I feel like the focus is still the child of Deckard and Rachel, and obviously the child is important to the underground as well because it's a beacon of hope. It's a entity that's going to lead them into equality with everybody else. But it's just, to me, that portion was just kind of like a cool little, this is what else is going on in the replicant world.
Okay.
And
kind of a little piece of world building.
Right. And also, to me, I thought that was a perfect way for the revelation to come to Kay that he is, in fact, not the child. And I really enjoyed what the leader of the groups told him about it being, everyone wished they could have looked into the mirror and saw what the child of. I really, I feel like that's a very human thing to want to think of yourself as special or unique or something that can help shape the world. But in essence, to find out that you're just a normal person. But in fact, he's not just a normal person. He's unique to himself. He serves a purpose within the world. And I again, it all goes back to my thing about the whole film. It's a giant study of what makes you human. What is humanity? So.
And that's one thing I can't really relate to, just because, it's this whole thing.
Cyborg?
No. The whole thing about, looking in the mirror and seeing, like, wanting to see yourself as something greater when you're really not. I mean, I have 3 podcasts, so, I mean.
Shaping the world.
I'm doing okay. But no, anyway, that's ridiculous. No, yeah, I totally agree. And I love the way that scene or that sequence was lit. And, because Kay and the woman, they're kind of silhouetted, and it's just completely in shadow. And then he has that moment where he sits down when he finds out that he's not the child and he's not special and everything. It just seemed like very, like that could have been played as like, oh, Ryan Gosling here, earn an Oscar, or really, really act your heart out. But it was more just subtle and more impactful because there's less stimulus or stimuli on screen coming at you. It's just very, very shadowy and just muted. And in a weird way, it becomes more powerful, at least to me.
No, I agree 100%.
Yeah. Let's see, what else? Oh, Deckard. How'd you feel about Deckard?
First of all, I thought it was crazy how you don't even come across Deckard until like almost the end of the film.
I know, yeah.
Because I was sitting there going, I was like, when we get into Deckard? Just because I'm a Harrison Ford fan. But no, I thought the reveal was great, and I loved the atmosphere of where Deckard is currently living.
I think it was
supposed to be. I think it was supposed to be Vegas.
Oh my god, it was
so amazingly
stunning.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and I got exactly what I wanted out of that interaction. I got Deckard being Deckard with Kay, and like the conversations were great. I love the stuff with the dog. I love the line of where he's asks if the dog's real, and he goes, "Why don't you ask him?" Yeah, I was like, that's a very, first of all, it's a very Harrison Ford line, and it's just I loved it. So,
and I kind of wonder, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I kind of feel like, because I think he said, "I don't know, why don't you ask him?"
Right. Yeah.
And I kind of feel like that was. I don't know if it, again, I don't know.
No,
if it's intentional.
I know where you're going with this. I think it was intentional. And to me, that goes back to what I've been saying about the first one all along.
For our listeners,
it's the big question that everyone always debates about the original is, was
Deckard shoot first? Oh, okay, sorry. I really wish I hadn't blown my wad with that joke earlier, because that would have been a
better location for that. Is Deckard a replicant? And I think it comes down to, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And to me, I think that's kind of a fun poke at it too. And I think that's kind of the director's way or the writer's way of saying, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Ask him yourself. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. Yeah. It doesn't change who Deckard is. Doesn't make him any less human if he is a replicant. You've grown attached to this character through the 2 hours that you've been watching him.
Yeah.
Why would it matter now if he's a replicant or not? You've seen him emotional. You've seen him care. So, does it change his humanity to find out he's a replicant? No, it doesn't matter. So to me, it's always been, people's like, well, is he or is he not? And my answer is, I don't care.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me.
And like, granted, I've only recently rewatched the original Blade Runner, but it kind of seems like the movie, and I've read a bit about it as well. Kind of seems like the original movie kind of makes, at least the final cut, kind of makes it lean more toward he's a replicant.
If you're gonna put a gun to my head and tell me you have to pick one side or the other, I think you almost have to say that he is a replicant, given what the final cut shows during his dream and Edward James Olmos's origami figurine at the end.
Right. But I feel like regardless, that's not the question to ask when watching Blade Runner.
No, I agree.
Either Blade Runner.
Right.
Because it's not like it makes like a huge profound statement either way, at least from my perspective.
It does not change anything about Deckard to find, like, if you find out he's a replicant, okay. If you find out he's human, okay.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So, but people debate it. That's one of the biggest debates of the original. So.
It is, and
maybe I read it wrong. Maybe I'm incorrect. But then again, art is what you get out of it,
right?
So that's what I get out of it.
And it's in terms of Deckard and Roy Batty in the first one, it's kind of hard to. I mean, it seems like putting your energy into whether or not Deckard is a replicant takes away from the fact that it's kind of Roy Batty's story.
It is Roy
from
Batty's
the perspective of
I think
Deckard.
the more important question at the end of Blade Runner is Roy Batty human?
Right.
Because
or is he just a baddie?
Stop it.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You know he's a replicant.
Mm-hmm.
But he makes an amazing point at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Do my observations, does the fact that I've seen more of the world than you still make you more human than me?
Mm-hmm.
And I say no. I say Roy Batty is just as human as anybody.
Yeah. I think Leon even says that something about, because he asks Deckard how much time he has, and he says 4 years. And then he says, I don't think he doesn't say something. He says something like more than not more than you, but something like to where it's like, he's like, well, I'm still more human than you, or something to that effect. I can't remember. It's kind of a throwaway line.
Exact same line too,
but yeah. So going into Blade Runner 2049, like, yeah, it doesn't matter. And what I like about it is that, well, one of the things I like about it, I guess, because I didn't really care one way or another if he was a replicant or not. But I like that it keeps that mystique. It keeps that ambiguity.
I love that. You know, they don't come out and, Kay's like, hey, are you a replicant? Yeah.
Yeah.
That would, to definitively answer that question would have left me, I would not have liked it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have ruined the film for me, but I would not have enjoyed a definitive answer.
And I was kind of expecting it to give a definitive answer, because I thought, like, well...
No, not me.
Really?
Yeah, I was fully expecting it still to be ambiguous.
Okay.
Because what purpose does it serve?
I don't know.
So, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought, like, well, hey, Harrison Ford's old now. That basically means he's human.
I expected Ryan Gosling to be his son and just kill him at the end.
Right. Expected Ryan Gosling to be him in the past. And anyway. Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah. Star Wars reference.
Yeah. Huh.
Good job.
Spoiler alert. Anyway, also that's another thing. I'm glad that Harrison Ford isn't, it's not a pattern where he is resurrecting old characters just to kill them off.
Just to kill them off,
so,
right.
I'm glad that Deckard survived this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the perfect ending.
Oh, that was such a beautiful ending, both for Kay and for Deckard.
Right.
God damn it, that was beautiful. What did you think of the kind of action set piece at the end in the water and the cars?
Like, it was all right.
Yeah.
It didn't blow my hair back. It didn't need to. When the point, it's not an action film. Didn't need to be amazing. You know the way I kind of equate it to an Inception, the snow base assault, because we just got an amazing fight sequence, and then you get the snow base assault, which is fine.
Yeah,
it's fine, but it's not amazing.
Sure.
So it was serviceable to the story, but the bigger payoff was the end.
Yeah.
So
I agree. One thing I did think was kind of funny, and I mean, it's not. I don't know. It's what it is, but it kind of seemed like Harrison Ford is getting kind of up there. So it was just like the last set piece. It's like, okay, well, I'm just handcuffed here. I'm not going to do anything. Right. Like they kind of shot around some of the action when he was getting taken by Wallace's people.
Well, the guy's like 70 years old.
He is, and hey, I'm cool that they even wrote a scene for him to do anything physical.
Right.
But I just thought it was just kind of funny. It kind of seemed a little, because when you have Ryan Gosling beating the shit out of people, and then you have Harrison Ford kind of doing his old thing. It's kind of, it was kind of weird. But I mean, that's not a complaint or anything. Harrison Ford is awesome. God,
he's an icon.
Yeah, it reminds me of a line from the movie She's All That. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, I hate to admit that I did. It was in middle school and a date.
Oh.
So
Oh, look at you, mister. I dated in middle school. Jesus, that says so much about me.
I'm not proud that I've seen that movie.
Oh, wow. I saw it in the theater, owned it on DVD, seen it several times. Anyway, there's a line where one character is like, oh, yeah, his dad works at Harrison Ford. And then someone clarifies and said, it's a dealership, not an actor. Not the actor. It's like a car dealership.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. Really, really top tier.
Yeah, top tier
comedy.
As one you would expect from a movie's caliber of
She's All That. R.I.P. Paul Walker. He's in
he is in that.
He is.
Yeah, he's the guy that she blows the rape whistle at.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Anyway, we're getting way off track.
Please.
So, Not Another Teen Movie was a very good send up of She's All That. No. So anyway, the ending. What do you make of Deckard meeting his daughter? What did that do for you? Because it kind of felt like, it didn't feel like an afterthought to me, but it just felt like, oh, hey, it didn't seem like it really closed the book on the movie itself for me. It just seemed like, oh, Deckard's meeting his daughter and Kay's gone.
I don't think Kay's dead.
You don't think so?
No.
Really?
No, I don't think he's dead. I think he's taking a break.
Uh-huh.
Maybe he is. I don't know. Maybe I misread that.
I read that as him dying.
Maybe.
Huh. I loved the kind of symmetry or the callback, I guess, of him feeling the snowflakes on his hand when earlier in the movie he was feeling the rain on his hand after he was talking with Joy. I loved that. And then there's apparently this big theory that I heard about it on another podcast. I guess Mark Millar, he posited that the last scene where Deckard goes in and sees his daughter in the room, she has this. You see her in the middle of like a little snowfall thing that she's working. The theory, the batshit crazy theory, is that Kay never existed, in that she was implanting memories into Deckard to lead him back to her. Because he's a replicant and she can do that. M. Night Shyamalan.
No, I don't.
Blade Runner 2049.
I don't buy it. Because then I think you're under the understanding that replicants are like cybernetic organisms.
True.
And
true.
I'm under the impression that replicants are biological organisms.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing else in either movie to indicate otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no.
Fuck you, Mark Millar.
Yeah, stupid Mark Millar, writer of some awesome comics.
Right, like...
He wrote Old Man Logan.
Old Man Logan, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Anyway.
With the Wolverine.
Sneaked.
Anyway.
But, no, I love how beautifully it just ends.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very satisfying. Deckard finally gets to meet his daughter, and I don't really need to see what else happens after that. I feel like it'd be intrusive of the viewer.
Yeah.
You see this man that's never met his daughter and hasn't done so with great sacrifice for her.
Mm-hmm.
He's done it so she could have a life, and now it gets to the point where he finally gets to meet her and see what his sacrifice has accomplished.
Nice. That's a really good way to put it. I like that a lot.
So and the emotional impact between these two characters meeting each other to watch it, I feel like would be intrusive.
Yeah.
For the viewer, so.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I don't need to see it. The beauty is that it happens.
I agree. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
Okay.
Then also, kind of to go back, also, what did you think about the whole idea of Deckard impregnating Rachel and that being the kind of whole thing of the whole movie?
I loved it. I love that concept. Again, it goes back to humanity, because I was always under the understanding that they are somewhat biological entities, and now Robin Wright's character puts it very soundly that the ramifications that replicants can procreate is earth-shattering.
Right.
And so I love the concept of something like this occurring that would, in fact, make replicants on equal grounds with the rest of humanity.
She makes a comparison, and this may have actually been the part where I had to go to the bathroom, but she makes a comparison where the world is built on a wall or something, or how does she phrase it?
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the specific
But yeah, she makes
phrase.
a very elegant point.
Yeah.
That, what did you think of Robin Wright in the movie overall?
I thought she was solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the basis of her character, and I thought she did a good job with it.
Sure.
I especially enjoyed her last scene.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought that was a very cool scene. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, I can't. There's not a whole lot I can say bad about this.
Yeah.
movie. Dave Bautista did a good job in his character from the start. I was actually kind of disappointed to see him only in the first 5 minutes of it.
Me too. And my first thought, aside from, man, I kind of have to pee, was that my first thought when he kind of beats the shit out of Ryan Gosling and throws him through the wall and everything, my immediate thought was, yep, all right, this is a Blade Runner movie because Blade Runners are getting the shit kicked out of them.
That's always been my counter argument to the whole Deckard being a replicant thing is he gets his ass kicked.
He
a
does.
lot. And replicants are supposed to have abnormal strength and
Right.
agility, and Deckard gets whomped quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
it's always been my kind of counter argument to he's a replicant.
Sure.
Maybe not be. But again, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. The real question, though, is was the dog real or not? That's yeah. We're gonna.
I think it was a figment
30...
of both of their imaginations.
Yep. I kind of hope that. Or I kind of wish that Edward James Olmos would have shown up in at the end with a little origami dog.
I did that Edward James almost did have a cameo.
That was cool. I liked that. I liked that a lot. Yeah. Anything else to talk about this movie?
No, I'd say we pretty much well covered it. I thought it was a beautiful film. I loved it, and it saddens me that it did not get the financial recognition that I think it deserved. I think it's the hard part of making a sequel to a movie 30 years later.
Yeah. That itself has just a cult following, and I don't think it was that successful.
I want to say it was pretty unsuccessful in the theaters. So
yeah,
it got made.
Yeah, it got made, and it was made well, and it is one of the most visually striking movies I've probably ever seen.
Yeah,
and I saw it 2 nights ago, or was that last night? Oh my god, that was last night.
Was it last night? I thought you were going to go
night.
see it the day after our party.
I was going to, but then I didn't because I Fallout 4. So
been there.
Yeah. Hence why we haven't had an episode in a month. Anyway, that's sort of true.
The obsessive gamer.
Yeah. Oh God, that has crossed my mind. Too busy. Anyway, yeah, I can't wait to see it again. I saw it 24 hours ago, and I want to see it again. And I wanted to, in preparation for this recording, I really wanted to watch something similar to it as kind of bring about something, I don't know, bring about discussion or just get into another Blade Runner-esque mindset. Couldn't find anything. I almost watched Minority Report based on Philip K. Dick.
Yeah. It's got share some similarities.
Yeah.
Concepts.
Mostly just because it's a Philip K. Dick novel.
Was that where? Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't, so instead I watched In a World, which was good.
Fair enough.
Yeah, which is weird for Halloween. But anyway, that's our review of Blade Runner 2049. Fekkes, are you going to own this on Blu-ray?
No, I'm going to own it on 4K Blu-ray because I'm awesome.
Look at you, Mr. 4K Blu-ray. You dated in middle school. Didn't pee during Blade Runner 2049.
I did.
Oh, did you?
I did. Yeah.
Wow. What part? Maybe we were synced up.
I honestly can't remember.
Okay. Jesus. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, awesome. I forget how we end these, but yeah, that's a review of Blade Runner 2049. Let us know what you thought. Go to facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer. Find all the links and crap there.
I hope this review is better for Raymond Hurt after he was so jokingly Snapchatted my "I thought it was a good movie" post on Facebook.
Yes. God, that was so great. That was so great.
Dickhead Ray.
Oh, because for content, I'm gonna dig up that screenshot because I took a screenshot. And I posted on the Facebook page. God, that was so funny. I completely forgot about that. Oh, Raymond.
How's that appendix, Ray?
Okay. Yeah. So our listener Biz said, "Just curious, are you guys going to review Blade Runner 2049?" And then I said I really want to. I was hoping to get Robert Fekkes on. Blah blah blah. And then Fekkes responded with, "I was a huge fan of the film." So my brother Snapchatted everyone and put a circle around his comment and said, "Best review of a movie ever." Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Biz, hope you enjoyed this review, and hope everyone else listening enjoyed this review too. So we're going to wrap things up with a Potpourri section, which for first-time listeners, Potpourri is a section of the podcast where we talk about anything we've watched lately, anything we're looking forward to, anything that's on our minds, anything we want, as long as it smells good. I'm going to bring up one thing. Fekkes, you've got one thing.
Yep, I got.
And then, we'll probably do like an extended Potpourri with Tiny here in the coming weeks because he and I have not sat down and talked to him since he became a husband. Whew. So yeah, well, technically I talked to him at the wedding, but I was drunk.
As one should be at weddings.
Yes, it was fun. Anyway, so Potpourri. Fekkes, you are my guest. So what is your Potpourri?
My Potpourri is the now almost finished with first season of The Deuce, HBO.
Nice.
The Deuce is kind of it's a show that crosses a lot of different characters' paths through New York City in the 70s, around kind of the red light district / seedy areas where prostitution's rampant, as well as porno theaters. Mm-hmm. It stars James Franco as two people. He plays twins.
Interesting.
In the show. A bar owner and / degenerate gambler of the brother of the bar owner. Maggie Gyllenhaal plays a prostitute. Mm-hmm. And it chronicles all these different characters' lives through the streets of New York City, just going about their business in the seedy underworld of New York. And I think it's 7 or 8 episodes into it right now, and I'm a pretty big fan.
Nice.
James Franco kills it with his performances.
Nice.
The dual performances as the bar owner and / degenerate gambler brother. Mm-hmm. Maggie Gyllenhaal, man, she does a brutally honest portrayal of a streetwalker in New York City, and there's a lot of characters that are from The Wire in this too. But so I want to say it was probably the same writers.
Executive produced by David Simon.
Okay,
yep.
So they all do a phenomenal job. So you get kind of the police officer's perspective as well. They bring the pimps in; they're major characters too. and it's just it's a really good. What's the word you're looking for when a project has different characters going through, connecting here and there with each other?
Prosaic?
I don't know.
Tapestry. No.
Could be
Something.
Anyway, it's
real good story with different people.
It's really interesting to watch all these characters interact throughout their lives and bump into the different characters who have their own separate areas that they're going through with New York City as well. And an interesting look at the kind of the sex trade and or sex workers of the 70s, and it's a really interesting story. I quite enjoy it.
Like intersecting storylines.
Yes, intersecting storylines.
There you go.
Things of that nature.
Nice. I've been really wanting to watch it, but I've been kind of waiting for it to all finish up.
Right. The performances are all top notch. Like,
nice.
The pimps are great, even though they're fucking terrible human beings.
Right.
Some of the girls are just tragically well done and portrayed, but it's solid. I'm a big fan, and I don't hear anyone ever really talking about it either. So it's kind of
I've heard some people talk about it a little bit here and there, but I don't think it's getting as much acclaim as it probably deserves.
I mean, it's and I just recently got introduced to The Wire. It's not as good as The Wire,
sure,
but it's still really, really solid. I enjoy it. I recommend it if you're looking for something in between Game of Thrones seasons, I guess.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's a solid piece of work.
Nice. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I will check that out and report back. My potpourri, I have several things I could bring up, but this is the most fresh thing that's in my mind, and I really am excited to talk about it. Fekkes, have you watched Aziz Ansari's Master of None?
No.
Oh, man. It is... Okay, so the first season, I believe I've talked about it here on the podcast before. Really beautiful season of television. It's all about Aziz Ansari's character in New York as an Indian actor who is like, it's hard. It's not like the show itself is not like, oh, it's about Aziz Ansari trying to make it as an actor in New York. It's almost like each episode is like its own little standalone story about a different thing. Like the first season is very much like one episode is about his dating life, one episode is about his acting career, one episode is about him and his girlfriend, and it's like it is one of the most beautiful depictions of like modern like relationships and culture today. It is like the episode in season 1 that's about I think it's actually called Indians on Television. It like the opening scene is just multiple flashes of different Indians on television depicted in a arguably derogatory way. Like it even shows like Apu from The Simpsons and just like very much stereotypical things. And it goes into a whole episode where he is going to auditions and he's being asked to do an accent when he's Aziz Ansari. He doesn't have an accent. So all of that's season 1. And season 1 ends in a very interesting way. And there's one episode in it that's, as a single guy, it is devastatingly terrifying because the episode is, I think it's called, I don't know what it is. It's like 9 Mornings. Hang on, let me look that up because I haven't even gotten to season 2 yet in my thing. The episode, it's like the penultimate. Okay, in season 1, episode 9, it's a penultimate episode of season 1. It's just called Mornings. And the entire episode is him in his significant other after they've moved in together. And the entire episode is a series of scenes that take place in the morning in their apartment at different times in their life living together. And it's just, it paints their relationship in such a unique way. Just by seeing this one part of their day, it says so much about their relationship and the ups and downs of it and everything. It's spectacular writing and a spectacular episode of television. So season 2 goes a little. Honestly, I think season 2 is even better. are some really incredible things. They filmed a certain amount of the season in Italy. In like the first episode is Aziz Ansari's character in Italy. It's all in black and white, kind of in the it's filmed in a way that's actually directed by Aziz Ansari. Filmed in a way that, if I'm, I don't really think I've ever seen any Italian movies, but like the classic Italian movies, like I think 8.5.
Never seen it.
Yeah. Anyway, like classic like Italian movies, the way that they depicted Italy. It's just filmed in that way. And then there are so many other, just like there's one episode that's all about online dating, which is something that I have a history with. And I'm like, this is so real. But Aziz Ansari's character is so much better at it than I am. But it's like,
It's also scripted.
yeah, well, that's the thing though. It's like the writing is so pitch perfect. It's like, you think Aziz Ansari and you think, oh, Tom Haverford from Parks and Rec, this super rambunctious guy that's like has a bunch of swagger and stuff and is very much a product of pop culture and everything. Like Aziz Ansari is nothing like that. He's just a guy who he has just a very profound grasp of just modern relationships, romance, and life of people that are the same age that I am, essentially. And it's like the episode that's about online dating is just, it's called First Dates, and it's him on first dates with I think 5 different girls. That it's told chronologically, but it intercuts between each date. So like there's one where like he meets for drinks there, and then the next part of the date is they go to another location, and then they're in the cab, and then like each act of the episode is him on that date in that section with like it intercuts between each date. And so you see the different levels of each date and how he interacts with different people. It's just amazing how well written it is. And then toward the end of the season, I won't give anything away, but like the kind of the running through line throughout the last half of the season is like so beautifully and brutally written and honest, and the chemistry between the characters in the scenario that plays out over the last few episodes is like some of the most electric like chemistry I've seen on a TV show. And like the Master of None itself is just season 2. It's just operating on an entirely like a much higher level than any other show that I've really ever seen recently.
That's high praise.
It's amazing, and it's funny because we were just talking about earlier how
right?
I would really
go watch this great amazing thing.
Yeah, but I mean, Master of None it was a profound experience for me, and there were elements of it that I could relate to a lot. Being an Indian man struggling to be an actor in New York, who spent time in Italy, but no, there are moments of the season that I just connected with on a very deep level that I just haven't connected with a show or movie in a long time. Like there's one episode where it just the last 5 minutes is Dev, the Aziz Ansari's character, just in a cab. And it's just him being driven home while a song plays underneath, and it's like it is a beautiful scene, and it's a beautiful way to end the episode. And it's just I just love everything about it. And what kind of sucks, but I can really get behind on it, is that Aziz Ansari has apparently said that he doesn't think there's going to be any more, just 2 seasons, because he's pretty much poured everything that he has in it, and he hasn't lived enough life to really do another season.
We'll come back 30 years later.
Yeah. Did you say 3 years or 30 years? 30 years.
Yeah.
Master of None 2049.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Jesus. I'd be all for that. But yeah, it's just it's one of the best shows that I've seen in a long time, and like it just resonated with me in such a profound way, and I don't get that experience that often. So I loved it. Master of None, it is on the Netflixes, and it's fantastic.
Good deal.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that is going to cover it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Tune in next time. We probably already have had the Shocktober and Irvington episode up. Next time we're going to have a special episode with with Cameron Grimm and 5 After 5 Productions about the Man Who Loved Flowers. It's a kind of crossover episode with Tower Junkies. We already have the episode on Tower Junkies, but I'm going to throw it over here too because Cameron's a great guy and the project is really really great. And I want to make sure that as many people are aware of it as possible because it's a great bunch of people and it's a great short film. Yeah, and then after that, I don't know, probably an extended potpourri or something. Oh,
or Thor Ragnarok. Come on.
Yes. Crap. Yeah.
It's Friday, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm going to have to see that. Yeah, next week we will review Thor Ragnarok. Are you seeing it this weekend?
I hope to see it Sunday or Monday.
Okay. Would you be willing to come on to talk about it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Well, I go to Mexico next week, so it'd have to be... Tuesday or Wednesday, probably.
You'd Skype from Mexico. Got it. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Speaking of other things podcast related, where are you at with Harry Potter and going on to
I'm like
Dark
20
Tower?
pages away from finishing Half-Blood Prince, so I'll be starting book 7 this week.
Okay. You're not going to believe what Snape does.
Well, like, he's, you got to... He's all right. I mean, he doesn't like Harry, but he can't do anything too bad, right?
Oh, Fekkes, your vacation's going to be ruined. Jesus. Anyway.
Well, he don't kill Dumbledore. I mean, that'd be crazy.
I just. So thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for having me at your Halloween party. Even though I made a joke about your tattoo.
I don't even remember it.
I don't remember it either. Oh, yeah. Oh, I was actually really proud of it. So do you want to describe the new addition to your tattoo?
Sure. It's Yoda doing like a ship in a bottle with the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, very cool. And my dickhead comment, the minute I came into his home for a Halloween party was... Oh, is that the little green guy from the movie from the movie series that keeps losing directors? So,
and then I think I reminded him something about the Dark Tower.
Yeah, you said something about the Dark Tower, and then I weeped in the corner for a long time. Yeah,
made it awkward for everybody.
Yeah, well, that's what I do. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that'll do it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Thank you so much for listening, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find more of our episodes at ovpodcast.com, and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or anywhere else podcasts are found. If you'd like to support the show, the best and easiest way is to leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. More ratings and reviews means it'll be easier for people to find the show in the highly competitive film and TV podcast genre. It also provides us with valuable feedback on the show. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a one-time PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate or become a patron at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer for recurring donations with different reward tiers. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, notebooks, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can also buy other great TeePublic designs in our store, and we'll get a small commission on the sale. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. The Obsessive Viewer's theme song is An Eclipse of Events and is provided by Loudlike from their EP, Mistakes We Must Make. You can find that and more great music from them on iTunes, and like their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudlikemusic. Any and all feedback on the podcast is encouraged. We love to hear from you guys. You can contact us by emailing podcast@obsessiveviewer.com or by tweeting us at obsessiveviewer, at obsessivetiny, and at IamMikeWhite. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer, where you can take part in discussions and polls between episodes. For more podcast content, check out Anthology, Matt's solo podcast, where he's reviewing The Twilight Zone as a first-time viewer and exploring other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows. You can find Anthology at anthologypod.com and anywhere podcasts are found. For book lovers, you can check out our sister site at ObsessiveBookNerd.com for book reviews, author spotlights, and a general celebration of reading. Finally, if you're philosophically curious, check out Tiny's side project podcast, The Secular Perspective, which explores the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda. You can find that at thesecularperspective.com and subscribe to the podcast on the app of your choice. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.